I walked out onto the field and I grabbed my ESPN mic and I said, I got the ring. And they said, whose is it? And I said, David fucking Ortiz. And I showed it on SportsCenter. Calm Down with Erin and Charissa is a production of iHeartRadio. And 3, and 2, and 3, and 2, and 1. That was like a step-by-step New Kids on the Block.
I know that you were a dazzler, which is a dancer, but were there any cheers? Welcome everybody to the Calm Down podcast. For those of you watching on YouTube or a social clip, you can see this. If not, Erin, describe what you're doing. She doesn't have her pom-poms on her. If she does, oh, Jesus Christ, I hear them. Oh my God, she just has them in case I ask.
Dun, dun, dun. Gators.
Go, give me something.
No,
give me
because
something.
I need my school to start performing. I don't even know if they beat Vanderbilt this weekend. I'm so frustrated. Is that how you pronounce frustrated? Camaraderie.
She's referencing that I made her re-say camaraderie because she had mispronounced it wrong. Her pronunciation of camaraderie wasn't up to my standards for vocabulary because I'm Miss Webster, okay? Miriam, is that you? Anywho, welcome to the Calm Down podcast. We are raring to go these days. I had a pumpkin coffee. Yes, I did. Also have a Diet Coke. Anyone want to mix in a water? Water. Hey, week 5, huh? Let's do a little recap. You had a home game.
I'm exhausted.
Not from a plane ride, because all you did, gal, was just work 7 shows, drive to SoFi, drive back home. Here we go. Week started. You had the Rams and the Eagles. Now, home game. Please describe the difference for everyone that is not familiar. Is this better? Is this worse? How does it change your prep? All the things.
Home games are tougher. Why? Because pros and cons. Pro, don't get on a plane. Don't have to pack. Con, don't have the time by yourself in the meeting room or on the 4-hour flight to get somewhere to really get your last minute grind, study, all the things on. Kind of got to balance it out at your house. Con, when you pack to go on a trip, all your shit's there. When you're at home, all your shit's everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's like, where the fuck is this? I don't know. So
that's true.
Pro, you get to go right home with your hubby and get in your jammies and order a big fat burger and watch 49ers Dallas. But yeah, so it's good.
With your baby in your lap as I FaceTime you, and he was so well behaved. He was just sitting, and Mac was just sitting in Erin's lap, like not making a sound. I was like, this child is perfect and looked like a Gerber baby in his cute little jammies.
But a cool thing that I am so grateful, and we talk, we always hem and haw about how, how difficult sometimes our job is and how competitive it is. This is also where it's great. And Fox is very, very wonderful. When we are home, they do utilize us in the studio on Sunday. Greg and I get to come in. We did that last year. I was sick as a dog last year. This year I was excited. I didn't have anything. And so we got to come in, and even Friday night, Fox postseason baseball has started up, and my play-by-play announcer, Kevin Burkhardt, is doing double duty. So Fox was cool enough
Which
to
is incredible.
Yeah, he's the man.
That is so, him and Joe Davis, like when they both do football and baseball, and that's how I feel about Kirk Herbstreit when he's doing college football and the NFL. Like the skill set and the amount of knowledge in the brain to be able to do that. I digress. Go ahead. Shout out to
I can't even focus right now, and I'm not even doing the double duty that Kev is doing. So Friday night was really cool. Our bosses had us get together for a big dinner with Major League Baseball and with our football crew, and it was a time. I mean, anytime you can get Greg Olson, Derek Jeter, Big Papi, us, A-Rod was there. It was just awesome. And I got to sit next to those two. I brought my husband, which I thought was so thoughtful. And there were just times, and I called you afterward. It's just, that's royalty. Baseball, sports, royalty. And it's just so special. Can I tell you something? This was a really cool moment. We watched the Jeter doc. You have to have you watched it?
I haven't.
You gotta watch
Admittingly,
it now.
I've only seen clips of it. I need to watch it.
Yeah, now that you guys are tight.
I'll love him even more.
Exactly.
Couldn't be a nicer person. Yeah.
Ridiculous. Like, he left our dinner, and Greg and my husband were just breaking it down like, what a normal dude. But he's not, right? Like, he's the captain. So, but he's just normal, and he's royalty. Yeah. So anyways, I had said to Derek, I said, we loved your doc. My husband works with a bunch of young kids in the NHL now and was writing down so many of your sayings. And he just said, and I was like, oh, why do you have to ask such a basic question? But he's like, hey, Derek, besides Yankee Stadium, where was your favorite place to play? Where do you
I
think
like
he
that.
said?
He can't say Fenway. He can't say Boston. Seattle.
Mm-mm.
No? Where?
Anaheim.
Ew.
Do you want to know why?
Why?
Grass was
I'm
some
sorry,
of the best.
Anaheim.
No, I know. We were like, what?
That's nondescript. Like, the reason I said Seattle's not because I'm from there, but that's like a beautiful backdrop. Like, it's right on the water. My next one was going to be Wrigley. Okay, so Anaheim because the grass was good?
The grass was always fantastic. Think about it. And I thought about it with like Pasadena and the Rose Bowl. Like that's some of the best grass in college football. And he said the weather was always perfect. And he was like, it was just such a nice, like, change venue. It was cool to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, go Angels. That would be the only redeeming thing about that about that stadium. Because no offense, but like Anaheim's kind of like, you're not on the water.
No,
you're not like.
But that's why we thought it was so cool.
Yeah, very cool. So Jarrett, you apologized and said that was a great question.
Oh yeah,
sweetie.
and then I was like, that was great. Way to go, way to go, way to go. And then I kept being like, does my breath smell? Does my breath smell? Because I felt so bad because we were having dumplings, and then I tried some sauce that was super spicy, and I was like, whoa, that was really hot. And I looked over at Derek and I go, and that's why your eyes are going to water because my breath is so bad right now. Like I just had to be really upfront about it,
Well, we were also at upfronts with him, and I'm sure you said that same line there because as Jarrett, you're repeating the lines, not to be confused with, here's a breath mint. Hey, here's a question for you. When someone offers you a breath mint, do you immediately think it's because I have bad breath, or do you like, I
feel terrible about myself. Yep.
I know. I have a real thing about that. And then sweet Dominique, who does my makeup, said to me the other day, would you ever tell me if I had bad breath? I said, I would offer you a mint, and I would offer myself one too, because I have two things in life, like bad breath or like just body odor. Like
booger.
If any of those things are permeating. That one I'm not because like that happens. In fact, sweet Jacob Ullman, I was blowing my nose the other day. I got to stop waxing my nose. I'm waxing my nose and just running. It's because there's nothing there to stop it. So I wiped my nose, and sweet Jacob, one of our 17 bosses, was like, go like this on your nose. And I was like, oh, I mean, I don't care about that. But bad breath and body odor, ooh.
Well, we're not going to have
I would not want that reputation.
Bad breath, maybe.
No,
booger, another thing. I get so embarrassed because my Luke Kuechly
How do you feel about the word booger?
Booger is
gross.
terrible.
I can't. Terrible. What's your Luke Kuechly incident? I don't know that one.
Yeah, I said it on air before. I did a pregame. I blew my nose, and then I went to go talk to him. And after I got back, somebody was like, "You've got a huge booger in your nose." And I was like,
"Shut up! I
no,
don't remember that."
And I just talked to Luke Kuechly. Shit. Every time Greg talks about him, I'm always like, "Does he bring out my booger?"
Oh, fuck! I did not realize that. I don't remember that story, but that's terrible. Yeah, that'll leave a mark. Okay, so we love being home, but also hate being home. But we come to the studio. Yes. So Sunday was a big day for Erin and I. Only get to be together at work once a year, if we're lucky. It does, because it doesn't even happen every year. And it just so happened that your home game this year coincided with all the baseball guys being in studio, because October, let me just tell you, I love all my employers, but my favorite employer, it's like if I had 10 kids and it's like, oh, do you have a favorite child? No, you can't pick a favorite. I have a favorite employer in the month of October, and that is Fox, because where else are you going to get Derek Jeter, Alex Rodriguez, Howie Long, Michael Strahan, Terry
Big
Bradshaw, Big Poppy, like Rob Gronkowski, Julian Edelman, Charles Woodson. I mean, the list goes, we get it. Okay, we get all the people we work with. But in the studio at the same time, let me just give you guys a little preview what that green room looked like yesterday. Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, All-Star, All-Star, All-Star. And you're like, ah! And the young aspiring sports broadcaster in me, the like 11-year-old little girl, I was like, I wanted to call my dad right when I left, but he was gone. He was out of town. I was on to be like, Dad, like these are those moments where I remind myself like how freaking lucky we are to have these jobs, because it's that little sports fan in me and the sports broadcaster that's just like, that's pretty cool. So, and the cherry on top is my gal and I actually got to do TV together, which never ever happens. So,
and we're getting rave reviews.
Wow. The votes are in. The Academy has spoken. We are nominated for an award, a major award. No, not at all. But it's very sweet when people that we don't expect us text us and like, oh, you guys should do segments together more often. And we say, we're always available.
Also, I have something to say. I told Howie.
I need to tighten my neck.
Or I said to Howie, I heard you're concerned about our podcast. And he goes, what? I love that thing. It's like therapy for me. I just lay on a couch and listen to it.
Howie Long is our second father. We
love.
I
Di.
know, and I can speak for Erin on this too. I'm mortified whenever he says to me, "You guys on that podcast, you're going to get fired." And I'm like, "Oh no, what did we say?" And then my flashbacks of all the things that we've said. My armpit looks like a vagina. I've got boogers in my nose. I can't take a pee with the Spanx on. And I'm like, well, no wonder he thinks we're going to get fired. But Howie, we love you.
I said that to Howie yesterday.
Whoa.
I was wearing the Spanx with that dress. And I go, I can't even breathe in this thing. I said, let alone go to the bathroom. And Howie goes, save it for the podcast. There, he said, I already did 3 episodes ago. Not caught up.
I love him. I love him so much because this is, and by the way, he goes, you and Chris, I listen because his son, Chris Long, so cute. He's also like, you and Chris and Erin, the things that you guys say. But Howie, what a dream you are. So yesterday was great and all the things. And I love being with you in studio. Also, this text chain that we're both on, I should not look at text chains while we're busy doing our podcast. This guy's like 12 years late to the stories out there. Anyways, look at this gal applying lipstick halfway through the podcast.
Do you think our new friend Derek Jeter would ever come on this podcast?
I think Derek just wants to limit the interaction to the dinners and the Sunday hellos. Hey, can you let everyone know what color that is? Because I'm going to tell you what, we're going to get so many inquiries about what color that is and what brand it is. Just tell everyone now, be an influencer.
This is a really old, honest stick. It's so old, the color's not even on here anymore. Hold on. Ooh. It's a truly kissable lip crayon by Honest. Jessica Alba, you know I love your product. She's very generous. Sheer Chestnut Kiss. It's Berry Kiss.
It's Berry Kiss. You know what that's from, everyone? The holiday.
I love lovely.
Your lips. We never have gals over. Those little girls in that movie, in The Holiday, with their little English accents. For the longest time after I saw that movie, which I still watch it, I watch it in July sometimes, I wanted to marry someone British so my kids could have an accent.
Maybe we'll start talking British around Mac so he thinks we're British.
Okay, Madonna, let's bring it back. Now, how old is that lipstick? We don't need any fungus. Kelly Stafford, line 1. This one on her podcast.
Now I got to throw this out.
If you guys have any old products, and this is one of the many reasons, Kelly just tells it like it is. This gal is as honest as they come. She used a mask that was older and didn't realize it, and it messed up her face. So everyone throw out your products. This is a PSA. It's also an ad. Listen to Kelly's podcast, The Morning After.
I was checking to see if my infection was still there. There's still a lump. I still got to be on antibiotics, I think. I didn't take them last night. I was trying to wean myself off, but since...
What on heroin? Trying to wean myself off an antibiotic? No, it's for
my skin. It was awful.
You're supposed to finish an antibiotic. This is why I'm bad on antibiotics and hence the chronic UTIs. You got to finish the medication.
Are you?
I know. Yeah, everyone stay with us. We're just getting started here on the Calm Down podcast. All right, so week 5 in the NFL. What a crazy time. I'm just going to go on a full-on rant here. Before the season started, okay, and we work for Fox, NFC centric, that's, contract stuff, a lot of quarterbacks and teams that we'll see in the NFC. So it's like, oh man, a lot of the perennial quarterbacks have left the NFC and here we are, let's go ahead. All the talents on the AFC side or those real marquee guys. What's going on in the AFC? Now you got the best quarterbacks in the NFC at this point.
Here?
You got Buffalo. We don't know who Buffalo is. Is Buffalo the team that can, score 60 on you, or is it the team that loses to the Jaguars? The Pittsburgh Steelers are in first place in their division, and they're 3-2. And last week we were telling them to just leave the league. You got Jamar Chase, scores 3 touchdowns, and hadn't had a touchdown all year. The Bengals look all world. It's like, I don't know what's going on. You got the Patriots. We got back-to-back games. Bill Belichick. Whoa, tough. The AFC is all over the place. I don't know who's good. I don't know who's bad, and literally perpetuates the movie, the phrase, any given Sunday. Because as a wager and a gambler, I don't know who and where. I say who.
I say how much.
So, it's difficult to bet on games because I don't know who I'm going to get. Although I do want to point out in my 3-game parlay, I'm 2 for 3. Let's see who wins tonight. I've got the Packers beating the Raiders. I digress. Let's go to the NFC side of the ball.
Is Aaron Jones in? I don't know.
Oh my God. the Cowboys, the Niners game, it's going to be a rematch of the NFC Championship game. You know, the Niners have blown out the Cowboys in the playoffs the last 2 years.
Yep.
This is such a great matchup. Wah. Like, freaking San Francisco runs away with it. So who's Dallas? I don't know. Eagles looked very dominant yesterday, especially in the second half when they ran away with that. I don't know.
Yep.
I just can't put my finger on the pulse of the NFL, which is why we love it.
I thought the whole emotion in our game was really, really interesting. And I struggled with it because I asked Jalen Hurts in our conference call with him, keys to the game. He listed several keys to the game. One of them was good communication with coach and player. They have new coordinators. That's such a big deal when you
on
are
both sides of the ball. Yeah,
on both sides of the ball. And I thought our pictures were really. I think our crew does such a phenomenal job with pictures. And that the picture of Sirianni, Jalen, Dante Smith walk in, Jason Kelsey blowing up after he felt that they didn't have their act together on the line. I thought that was really interesting, especially for a team that's 5-0 that, you know, has picked up where they left off. I just thought that was so interesting.
I like it. I like the emotion on the sideline. And I know that media, you know, we're quick to be like, oh, they're fighting. Like,
they're not fighting. They're trying to figure it out, make it perfect.
Right. I'm like, and I don't know. I think that also says a lot about the confidence of that team that they can show that outward emotion and like have no question as to whether or not I can't remember, tells you my brain. In our game with the Eagles, Jalen Hurts was going at it.
Yeah.
With someone on the sidelines. And then, and we were talking about it in postgame. He's like, it was fine. It's like, anyways. Can
I tell you something? Also, I almost texted you and I texted Joel about it, my sit-down features producer who works with both Charissa and I, and he's also a good friend. He produced our segment yesterday. I struggled with it. I almost gave myself like a freaking migraine during the game because I only get 2 quick questions and before they're booting me off. And I did the postgame with Jalen and I almost asked a question about it, but this is where it sucks. And all you aspiring, reporters or want a behind the scenes look. The game's out of reach. You know, for most of the fourth quarter, we kind of knew that obviously the Eagles were going to win. Jalen's numbers were insane. There's so many questions you can ask. I only get 2. And when you are sitting there and he's on a podium, you can get into that. But I really did want to ask about the emotion on the sideline. But that's like for somebody that has 4 to 5 questions. You can't ask that. So I tried to allude to that in the way I asked the question. Like, emotional win on and off the field we saw for you guys. He told me in our meeting that I don't even remember how I phrased it. People think this game is easy and it's not. And we saw that with their emotion. But what impressed you the most about the way your team was able to grind it out and get another win? It's just hard. I really battled with that on the sideline to ask about the emotion. But I knew that story with you, with the AJ Brown and you guys doing that game. So that was a hard one. I was so close to texting you about how to handle that.
But you know what's interesting about that? Because I always feel like there's some questions, you know, you're not going to get an answer. He's not going to say,
no,
I hate AJ Brown. They're best friends. Like, he's not going to say that. So it's almost like, do I waste one of my 2 questions when I know I'm going to get a generic response back? So I think I couldn't hear your post game because it was just all the screens were up and I only had sound from the post game, our guys' post game show. But I think that in that situation, you ask the question, and I don't need to tell you how to do your job. You've done it a lot long at the highest level, but like you ask a question that's going to elicit the best response.
Yeah.
And if that's not going to get you anywhere, then it's like, let's not waste anything. And then he looks at you like, you really think I'm going to say something?
Exactly. Exactly.
But asking questions is hard in those situations. I never did, which is probably why I don't do that. Went to the clinic on like, I should probably take a course in asking questions again.
No, what, where, when, why, how. I mean, you know, it's a good tool for me. Even when Sean McVay, I was coming out of the half with Sean McVay, I just texted Greg real quick and I said, what's the one thing you want to hear from McVay? Because I knew it had to be something about defense, you know, with the fact Jalen, they had just given up that huge drive at the end of the half. And Greg thought of one I wasn't even going to ask. Now that Cooper Kupp, you know that the Eagles are going to adjust? How do you try to move him around? And guess what? Cooper Kupp wasn't as effective in the second half as he was in the first. And that was a great question by Greg, and I used it. I love a little teamwork,
And it makes the dream work. And also that just goes to show that you're not arrogant. You're like, I have all the answers. No. You know what?
Ryan just put in our chat, circling back to pregame on switching roles question.
There was a great question. We have a little segment every Tuesday called the pregame, and people submit questions, comments, and concerns. One of the questions was, would we ever want to switch roles? I think me go back to doing sidelines and Erin going into studio. I think we've talked about this before, but readdressing it just because you were in studio yesterday. I have been very vocal, not in a negative way. I just have the utmost respect for you and going on the road and being, a sideline reporter for how many years have you done this? 20 something at this point when you think back on. Anyways, I couldn't hack it on the sidelines. Nathaniel Hackett, congratulations on your win. It wasn't my thing. I just felt like there was more that I wanted to say throughout a game. And if I didn't get in, I got frustrated. I was like, why am I doing all this work if I'm only here to react to what I'm seeing?
That's a hard part.
So I always felt like I left a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor, and I wanted to be not like more front facing. It was difficult for me to do all of that work and feel like sometimes, especially early on, I was a baby reporter and I wasn't good. I don't think I was a good sideline reporter. So you're great at it. You love doing it. And so, no, I'm much more comfortable and happier in studio.
And you're great at it. You're amazing at it.
We were having this conversation. I appreciate that, but I definitely think like you're at the mercy of the people around you, which is why I feel so grateful to have the best teammates in both shows, because, I look at Ernie, I love him on the TNT show, and he's got Shaq and he's got Charles, and it's like, you're only as good as the people around you. The same way for like Kevin and Greg, like, you are only as good as the crew that you work with, or your producer that's going to let you get in, or the director that's going to get the shot of the things that you're talking about. So without rambling further, for those of you that aren't really interested in the sports broadcasting part of this podcast, I just think that we are both in our respective positions for a reason. And I am very happy in the studio or on the road hosting a show.
I tried being cute yesterday. During the Rams game, I was wearing a little Skipper Barbie outfit, and our stylist had thrown me in a pair of boots that I was like, I'm not going to make it past the first quarter in it. I gutted it out. I mean, I was in them until the third quarter, and then finally in the fourth, I'm like, I am miserable. I put on my sneakers. I'm like, I'm fucking done. I can't do this.
I am so proud of you because here's pull back the curtain and tell the viewers and the listeners. So again, Erin and I never get to be in studio together. So when she's there, I get so excited. So after the game, our show's over, I run downstairs and Erin's changing into her outfit to go work her game. And as I saw you put those boots on, I was like, in my head, I was like, you're going to wear those all game. And I almost texted you and I was like, how are those feet doing of yours? Because they were so cute. But I'm like, that's a tough heel. But maybe she's going to be into it. Then I saw the picture you had posted for wear or something and you were in sneakers. I was like, I knew she didn't make it. I knew you didn't make it.
I made it to the fourth. But I just, after that, and then I should have put him on for my Jalen interview just to be cutie, cute. But at that point, I was like, Jalen, I can't feel my feet. I mean, you've played 4 quarters. I get it. But I can't feel my feet,
I can't feel my face. At least you weren't in jeans. All right. So we've got a fun week coming up. You are headed to Cleveland. I am headed to Kansas City.
Give that Travis Kelce a big hug for us. Can we just say, I mean, this guy, he's got enough going on in his life. The comment he made on your page yesterday about our segment on the NFL pregame show, say it louder for the people in the back. Travis, appreciate it.
I love him so much.
This shit means more than people get. I mean, listen, yes, like Jarrett and I were discussing it last night. Travis Kelce is one of the top 5. He's one of the biggest names in the NFL.
Top five, Drake voice.
He is. And it's just, despite whatever's going on in his personal life, the fact when we get a pat on the back from people that are faces of the league, people we work with, people of power in this industry. It just means so much to us. And I love you, Travis. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Shit like that is just special.
And you never need let's just all say what it is. You never need validation. I don't think as an athlete, you like have to have people talking about you. I don't think whatever respective business you're in, you don't have to have that, but it is really nice. I was having this conversation actually with one of my bosses that a little bit goes a long way. And as, we both own companies and have employees, just saying, hey, great job with that, or good job on that, or I was really impressed with what you did here, this and that. Like, you may think it, but when someone says it, and it doesn't have to be on a social platform. It doesn't have to be anything. It could be a private message, but it just, I don't know. For me, it's motivation no matter where that's coming from, not just because it's a compliment, because I also like, getting feedback. I ask my producer for Amazon once a week to email me things that I did well and things that I didn't do well in the broadcast, because I always have to think about it like that's my game film. And I watch back every show I do, not because, I want to watch myself on TV, but the minute that I start thinking that I'm so good at this job is the minute someone else is going to take it. And for me, if those athletes that we watch go back and watch film of themselves on ways to improve, the minute they come on the sideline, they got the Microsoft Surface, what is working, what isn't working. I like to apply that same principle to my own job, because there's little idiosyncrasies. Do I say, do I say like certain things that I can be better at? And I just think that it's important to always ask for constructive feedback, but then also unsolicited get compliments. And the thing that Erin's referring to is this Travis is like been so supportive of Erin and I long before Travis and the Taylor and the whole thing. But like, I know I've mentioned it before, but even like, when Mac was born, Travis knew the second I told him that you were having a baby, like he was so genuinely happy for you. And I think that this industry is so special because you do become friends with these guys and create these relationships, and not just players on the field, but as we were talking about, at work, like that feels like a family. Like Michael feels like a brother to me, feels like a brother to you. And if anything that we've went through in our lives, because we've went through stuff, those are the first people that call you. Yeah. And it is really cool when work coincides and those individuals become friends and family. Is this, what TED Talk am I a part of right now?
The time of your life, there were two moments yesterday I have to tell you about. Well, one, Lily was fantastic. She captured them.
Yeah, Lily Rose, thank you.
Yeah, we both posted them. We were watching this segment that the lighting in here is crazy. I keep changing colors.
What do you mean?
In my room.
Sweating.
It's like, whatchamacallit? We were sitting back, all of us in that studio, and watching this segment that was pre-taped, and we were all laughing. I had my arm around Big Poppy, and Stray had his arm around you. It was so special. It was so great. That light is crazy.
That is also because, and I don't know if you've told the story about like how nice Big Poppy was to you when you first started covering baseball, and when I first started covering football, like how nice Michael was. And I just think about like, I'm with Steve because Matthew and Kelly, it's like these relationships end up really sort of intertwining. And so anyways,
tell your Stray story. I'll tell my Poppy story, because I don't know if I've ever told my Poppy story. Tell your Stray story. Do you have one?
Yeah, he was on Best Damn Sports Show when he was still playing for the Giants. It was my first national show that I ever got. And Best Damn Sports Show, for those of you guys that don't know, I'll succinctly tell you, it was a late night talk show. It was one of my favorite shows, like that it was the intersection of entertainment and sports. And this was a time where culturally, like, you could say what you wanted. I mean, just Tom Arnold was on the show. We'll leave it at that. And Michael, being savvy Michael Strahan, which is why he has the career that he does, was smart enough and one of the very first players to go on these types of shows while he was still playing.
Yeah.
And so he was a frequent guest. He was a weekly guest. And he was so kind to me. And it was like, oh my God, it's Michael Strahan. And like, I'm this dumb, I'm saying dumb. He didn't ever make me feel like that. But you just sort of get insecure sometimes when you're first starting. You're around these like massive personalities. And he probably, I had thought that he was like this, oh God, who's the blonde bimbo over there. Never once made me feel like that. None of those guys ever did. John Sally, Chris Rose, Rob Dibble, any of those guys. And Michael was just so kind to me and like took the time to be like, all right, so like, where are you from? And this and that. And I never forgot that. And so now just, 20 years later, being able to, when anything bad in my life has happened or even good things have happened, he's always a missed call or a text that says like, here for you. And that like means so much. Look at me starting to cry, but it's really sweet because it goes far beyond the job itself and you never forget that. Okay. Big Poppy story. I love this one.
That's actually a line that Derek and I were talking. Derek and I, you know, we were just talking. We were just talking about when I covered him, when I covered Poppy. Like I was saying to Poppy, doing home run derbies with him. Like I just feel like baseball will never. It was just not that it's not special now, but it was just a time, you know. And Derek's in the All-Star game, Mariano Rivera. Like it was just great. And I was talking about. I asked how Jorge Posada was doing because he was always so nice to me. And Derek said, you never forget those that were nice to you, do you? And I said, no. And I was like, you were always great for me. I said, you never would give me much in an interview, but you're always awesome. But my first year of baseball with ESPN, my very, very first game ever was the day that the Red Sox were getting their rings after they won it for the, after what, 2004? Is that right, Ryan? The
4,
curse.
8, and 13, I think, right? 4, 8, 12.
So 14. It's when they celebrated at Fenway and the legends came out of the Green Monster. Bobby Orr walked out. Bill Russell walked out. Teddy Bruschi, who had just suffered a stroke, walked out. My dad and I were praying to God that Larry would come out, but he didn't. So it was so exciting. I got my dad tickets to the game. Again, it's my first baseball game ever for ESPN. And I still remember who this person was. It wasn't a producer. It was an executive at the network. And I was just like, I wonder what my first story should be. And he said, I'll give you one. Why don't you go try to get a ring and not a Bat Boys ring and show it on SportsCenter? Because before our game, SportsCenter was on. And so you always had to fill for SportsCenter and have stories. And I was like, okay. I grew up a Red Sox fan because of my dad. My dad's from Springfield, Mass. He's at the game. Freaking awesome. I knew who my favorite player was. Never met him before. I walked right into the Red Sox clubhouse. Boys had just gotten their rings at probably the night before. And I walked up to Big Poppy, David Ortiz, and I said, hi, my name's Erin Andrews. I'm new to baseball on ESPN. I've worked college football. You're one of my favorite baseball players ever. SportsCenter is asking if I could get your ring to show. Would you mind? If you know anything about the Big Poppy, he loves the word fuck. And he just said, in the most darling way, he goes, I don't give a fuck, have it. Gave me his World Series ring. MLB security was there. I don't know if team security was there. And like, she can't walk out on the field with this. And he goes, why not? Never met the guy. After shaking my hand with his gorgeous smile. And he goes, she can have it. Bring it back. I took Big Poppy's ring and I walked out onto the field and I grabbed my ESPN mic and I said, I got the ring. I got the ring. And they said, whose is it? And I said, David fucking Ortiz. And I showed it on SportsCenter. And he's been my man ever since then. Nope, not a bat boy.
Which is such a backhanded thing. But that's just, Oh, good for you. And
those guys were awesome. I had Derek and I were talking about this. Rick Sutcliffe, I worked with him. He's such a great guy, and he really broke the ice for me with a lot of people. I remember him telling Roger Clemens, she's with us. She's a good one. And you know, Derek was asking what he's up to. I need to get back in touch with him. But what's really cool for us, and I know you know this with your amazing group that you have on Thursday nights and the bond that you guys have created, like to get into certain circles, it's really helpful when your teammates go to bat for you. And the Yankees clubhouse, I mean, they weren't like the Red Sox clubhouse. Red Sox clubhouse is there. They're like either drinking in the clubhouse, they're having a time. Yankees are hiding. You're not finding them. But when Rick Sutcliffe said to Mike Mussina, Roger Clemens, Derek Jeter, like she's one of us, they were really, really cool to me. That was awesome.
It's really cool. And that is that invitation into a sacred space, the clubhouse, the locker room, the whatever, you know, insert analogy here. But it is, once you get invited, it's your job to stay there and appreciate it because it can get taken away at any moment. So it's really special when it does. And for all of you Boston fans, 4, 7, 13, and 18. Those aren't my measurements. Those are your World Series championships.
Yeah, it was after the 2004 World Series. I got to do that.
That's why, for again, all of you Boston fans, yesterday it was really cool having Poppy came on our set. It was Poppy, Jules, and Gronk.
So
and I'm
cool.
like, holy shit. And the Bruins were great and the Celtics were great. Like the convergence in a 15-year span, that city had 10 championships in 15 years. Like growing up in Seattle, like we have one. We have the Seahawks with one. And it's like, it's crazy to think like that, that is like the Mecca. And yes, of course, you've got New York. Because at one point I was like, there's a guy next door because they were like, oh, we have the best fans in the world. I'm like, there's a guy next door that might, think a little bit differently of that. But sports, it is highest level. It's very cool. All right. Week 5, sister. You're headed to Cleveland. I'm headed to Kansas City.
It's week 6.
Oh, it's going to be week 6. Yes, week 6. I can't keep it straight. I'm excited to have a wonderful, you and I are off to dinner tonight, and we will have stories, I'm sure, on that at some point. And we love you all. We cannot thank you guys enough when you yell, calm down, whether it's when I see you out on the road or when you send in sweet clips or just even comments that you make on the platforms. We don't need the compliment, but we appreciate you guys very, very, very much. And we never take you for granted. So thank you for listening. Love you all. I'm
going to do a plug.
See you next
NHL
week.
Season starting tomorrow. I was off a day. And don't forget our NHL gear available on wearbyea.com or Fanatics or in the arena of your favorite hockey team. We've got super cute, comfy stuff that'll keep you warm and fashionable inside that NHL arena or your home.
Oh my God. It's like this gal does it for a living. Love you guys.
Bye. Calm Down with Erin and Charissa is a production of iHeartRadio.
For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.